this video, I'll be showing you how to create this beautiful Hudson Valley hat. The one thing I don't show in this video is how to make a liner. I like to put a liner in some of my hats to make it feel more complete, and I did that for this one. To make this pattern, I'm using the following yarns. I have 3 colors in Aran Weight. This ivory, this nice like burnt sienna color, and this umbery brown. These will be making the outside of the hat, and I'm super excited to finally use these yarns. They're made in the Hudson Valley of New York, and I have an in-depth review of them, which I'll link down below. All right, I'm ready to get started. I've got my 4mm crochet hook and my color 1. Although in this video I'm going to show you step-by-step instructions, there is a written pattern available as well. So if you would like, you can find that in the link down below. Alright, so I'm starting off with a magic ring today. I'm going to chain 1, and then I am going to work 10 single crochets right through the magic ring. After I've finished all 10 single crochets, I am not going to tighten my magic ring all the way, but instead I'm going to get ready to work right on into row 2. This hat will be worked up in a spiral, so there won't be too many visible seam. There really won't be a visible seam at all, but there is going to be one spot when you do a color change that's a little wonky, which kind of looks like a seam. So I am going to continue working row 2 right from where I left off here. However, row 2 is single crochets, not worked through the top loops like it normally would be, but instead I'm working through the legs of the stitch, and I will be doing an increase in each stitch around. So 2 single crochets through the legs of each of those stitches. A good way to find it is to look where those V's kind of join, and it's right underneath there. This is what gives this hat that nice knitted look. So I'm going to continue working 2 single crochets into each stitch around, giving us a total of 20 stitches for this round. At the end of round 2, once I've done my 20 stitches around, that's when I like to tighten up that magic ring, just so the top of my hat has a nice join that is solid. For round 3, I will work 1 single crochet through that same spot of each stitch that we did before. That's how most of our single crochets will be worked up, through the legs of the stitches. So I'm going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch around, totaling in 20 single crochets. For round 4, I will be working 1 increase in that first stitch. So 2 stitches into the first stitch, followed by 1 single crochet into the next stitch. I will continue this sequence, alternating an increase by just a regular single crochet, still worked through those legs of the stitch, all the way around, totaling in 30 stitches. To begin round 5, I will be working 1 single crochet into the first stitch, followed by 1 single crochet through each stitch all the way around, totaling in 30 single crochets. All right, I'm getting ready to begin round 6, and it occurred to me that I do not use a stitch marker, but if it helps you, you totally can mark the first stitch of each round. I just use my stitch count. But anyway, for round 6, I will be beginning with an increase in that first stitch, followed by 1 single crochet worked into each of the next 2 stitches. And then I'm just going to continue that sequence of an increase followed by 2 regular single crochets all the way around. So I've got 2 stitches worked into 1 stitch, followed by 1 stitch worked into each of the next 2 stitches. For round 7, I do another round of just single crochets. As always, worked through those legs of the stitch. So I will continue this 1 single crochet worked through each stitch around until I've reached a total of 40 single crochets. Round 8 will be another round of increases. I'll be starting with an increase in that first stitch, followed by 1 single crochet worked into each of the next 3 stitches. I'll continue that sequence of an increase followed by 3 regular single crochets just worked through those legs of the stitch all the way around, totaling in 50 single crochets for this round. For round 9, I will be working a round of no increases, so just a single crochet worked into each stitch around, totaling in 50 single crochets for this round. For round 10, I will be doing another round of no increases. So I'll be working 1 single crochet through each stitch from the previous round, totaling in 50 single crochets. For round 11, I will be doing an increase round, and this is my final round of increases. So I start with 2 single crochets worked through that first stitch from the previous round, followed by 1 single crochet worked into each of the next 4 stitches. I continue this sequence of 1 increase, followed by 4 regular or modified single crochets because they're worked through the legs of those stitch, but 4 of those single crochets all the way around. For this round, I should have a total of 60 single crochets. All right, so I have completed my round 11, which was my last round of increases. Moving forward, I will just be working 1 single crochet through each stitch from the previous round, still working through the legs of the stitches. But I do like to put a stitch marker here, just so I don't have to count the rows anymore. So I can work this beanie now up until it is at my desired length. I can change colors whenever I feel like I want to do a color change. And I will just continue working this up without any increases until I'm about 2 inches away from where I want the end of the beanie to be. So I'm leaving about 2 inches of clearance for the brim. Okay, so I've continued working up no increases, and now you can see the beanie is starting to take shape. From where I put my stitch marker, which was that last row of increases, I have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 additional rows of no increases in that same color 1, followed by, I did a switch to my color 2 for what looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rows in color 2, and then my last row for the body of the hat in color 3. This was all same single crochet stitch, no increases. I chose to switch colors. You could keep them all the same color. You get that flexibility. This was with my 4mm hook. At this point, I'm getting ready to do the brim of the hat, so I'm going to switch crochet hooks. And now I will be going in with a 3.5mm crochet hook to make the brim. First, I will work a slip stitch into the first stitch of my body of the hat. I am working with my 3.5mm hook, and from here I will be chaining 9. After I've chained 9, I will chain 1, kind of block off my stitch there, and then work a slip stitch into that first stitch, followed by 1 slip stitch worked into each of the 9 chains from the previous round, or sorry, previous row. Once I've worked my 9 slip stitches, I will then just slip stitch back onto the body of the hat into the next available stitch before I turn my work, and then in the back loop only, I will work 1 slip stitch in through each of the 9 stitches across the brim. Once I've worked my way across the brim, I can chain 1 and turn and continue this sequence. So I'll be working 1 slip stitch in the back loop of each stitch across the brim. And then when I get back to the body of the hat, I will slip stitch into the next available stitch before I repeat this sequence. I will do this all the way around the hat, and I'll meet you for the join. All right, so I have worked my way fully around. I'm just going to slip stitch into that last available stitch along the brim of the beanie, or really along the body of the beanie, to finish out my brim. And then I am going to turn my work and just slip stitch the final row and the initial row of the brim together. Once I've completed the slip stitch on the end of my brim, I'm just going to finish off my work. Now, using a needle, I can go ahead and hide all of my tails, weaving those in, making them invisible to the outside of the hat. Once all my tails are hidden, I can absolutely keep the beanie just like this, or I can get creative, adding some embellishments, putting a liner in the hat, or even adding like a pom-pom on top.